Dale nomás.
I took a lot of screenwriting classes at UCLA, but I don't write screenplays. I'm a humorist.
You're a humorist.
Yeah, I think you two would be very fun together.
Yeah, we'll have to talk.
Okay, thank you.
Después de la música usted se va a sentar acá,
¿Qué?
¿verdad? Después de la música usted se va a sentar acá.
¿Yo?
Sí,
Supongo.
y ellos se pueden sentar acá para dar sus votos y eso.
Sí,
Más de frente.
nos enfrentamos.
Más de frente.
Sí, sí.
¿Sí?
Sí, sí, porque tenemos que cerrar un contrato. Y
Back at it. Oh, there's Natalie. She wanted to be here.
Natalie.
She wasn't able to.
Hey, Natalie.
Oh, Haribo!
My God, you're a sight for Lotus Eyes.
Oh, it's so good to see you, Hare Krishna.
Natalie, she's so sweet. She bought me an air fryer.
Oh, you're kidding. That is so thoughtful.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
oh.
Those are great air fryer.
So actually, I'm just gonna go back for. Then B flat major. F major. F. Then D minor. Then E major. G major. C major. F major. Then back to D minor. A major. G major. C major. F. No, not G. F. Neo Baroque.
Beautiful. I love neo-baroque.
¿Cómo te llamas, joven? Oh, whoops. So, we'll do kirtan. Why I should someday.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet.
Well, there, you want to tell me?
I did.
Because we do kirtan. Get to the kirtan now. Oh yeah.
Also, we have a special group.
The Davy chicks.
Yes, the Davy Chicks. That's right.
Oh, so thank you all for coming. And so we will, what do they always say on TV? We have a great show for you today. So, the kirtan. Let's see what key. I think I'll just keep it in. Is that your life for the ladies?
Just not have a tag.
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Ya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Okay, I'll go back to where I was. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for coming. And
Which was you first, the picture or the girl group?
is Krishna has Got Talent?
Yes.
How about girl group then picture?
Of course.
The Davies.
We still got some good lights. We'll take one big group photo.
Yeah, do whatever.
And,
Yeah, you
And then
decide.
we also have another. What's the band name? I don't know.
Well, what did you call it? The Davies?
Davy G.
Davy chicks.
All right. I like it.
So this is sort
They
of,
came up with this 1 hour ago, so I walked in and was blown away.
I'm not surprised. They're quite ingenious.
I said,
Talented.
what song are you covering? No, I just came up with it.
Oh,
so this is.
got the whole band.
This whole band, so we have Kelsey.
Hey,
We
Kelsey.
have Kelsey on the guitar, and Bailey singing beautiful harmony and vocals, Vanessa singing over here, beautiful harmonies, Olivia over here singing with us, and then, you know, good old Leslie.
She looks familiar.
¿Va a usar?
¿Qué?
¿Usted va a usar esto ahora? No. Sacamos
We
7,
know
6
how
y
much you love Carla. So we made a Carla for you.
I was hoping I'd get at least like 8. It's the beta course calls.
Long, I'm sorry. That I'm like adjusting it.
No, go ahead.
And you wanted to give the Carla instead.
The what?
You
No, no,
wanted
that's
like,
fine.
I know.
Move this out of the way. Because he's gonna sit.
Yes. ¿Quiere cambiarse de silla?
No.
¿Qué grupo, no? ¿Voy a sentarme ahí? Vamos a girar esto. we have to record that. I mean, we did, but we have to really like make a,
We can do that.
no, really, because I'm speaking very sincerely. That's actually the best Hare Krishna song I've heard since George Harrison's album. Pink. That was extraordinary. I mean, it's so beautiful.
I can't believe it.
No,
Within like an hour. Truly.
that's amazing. We definitely have to put that out.
We can do it.
Actually, so I was trying to, I had the melodies and the chords the other day, and I was like trying to write something to it, and then I was telling Dom, and then Dom was the one that said, why don't we turn it into a kirtan?
I said Krishnify it.
Yeah. And then it worked, it was so perfect, and I was like, oh, there it is.
No, we have to put it out. I mean, we'll arrange the, what do you call it?
Recording session?
Yeah, recording session. I mean, seriously, it's so beautiful.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Hope we finally get our group song.
We have a studio, a professional studio. We can do it.
No, we should do that right away because it's just, it's really, it's extraordinary.
I agree.
Yeah. Group photo?
And
Yeah.
Before we-
Sure. And what's that?
Yeah.
Right here?
Oh, nice.
You
All right.
can scoot up a little bit.
Yes, let's come to
That was amazing.
on the shots. Very
Estoy muy orgullosa de lo que logramos acá.
Yeah, I walked in and said, "What song did you just cover?" And like, "Oh, I said the same thing. It's the best thing ever.
That was amazing.
We are recording.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, where is Krishna?
Let's give her a keyboard.
We need to turn on the lights. Or you could lighten it after. You know what, the lights? Turn on the lights. Okay, if you mix yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you want to look at this part, everybody. This part of the camera. Don't look up there.
Are you gonna do a selfie?
Look at this little light.
We're gonna get 20 pictures of mom.
All right. Okay, wait. You need to orange shirt a bit. Yes, thank you. Sorry. I don't know anybody's name, so. Wait.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, are you gonna get in? Good. All right. Okay, everybody's looking at the dot and smile. Show me teeth. Knocking teeth and laughing. And now, just for a second here, I'm gonna do a video so you can wave or whatever.
Hare Krishna West. Krishna West. Krishna West. Krishna West.
Okay, now one more straight on, photo. Okay. You all look wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Could you? Sorry.
Now what we do?
Straight up.
No.
Yes, please.
Hey Charlie, can we do a couple straight up? The phone straight up. No, turn straight. Turn the phone.
Well, she wants to get someone.
Wait. Okay. One with the mama. And then.
Oh yeah.
One with the mama. Perfect.
Can you take right up and down? Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Haribol.
So, everyone go back to your position.
Yeah, it's like Neo Baroque. Thank you, thank you. Wow. That was amazing. Hay esperanza. We have to post that all over ISKCON, that's all the rest to show them what we've done. No, it's tarjeta de introducción, ¿cómo se dice?
Tarjeta de presentación.
Tarjeta de presentación.
Cuando usted quiera.
Is there any water?
Trying to have your distilled.
What's that?
I've got distilled water. I forgot to give it to you. So it's here.
Actually, Dave got it. So you're
We'll send you a packet.
Yeah, we did.
We're filming all this, right? Here's mud in your eye.
Anybody wants to?
L'chaim.
Does anybody want to?
Yes.
Let's bring it in. You get a little intimate.
Actually,
Got a couple pillows here if you need it.
Wait a second. I'm going to.
Really?
We have a studio we can use.
No, but it's just so good. Yeah, it was just so good. I mean, beautiful. It was a Krishna empowered them to do that.
I agree. It's a very
The David chicks. David chicks.
We can't tell the world that. Oh. Sí, sí, cómo no. L'chaim. That was my father's name. Yeah. Tough act to follow. Thank you. So, oops. About a little over, hey, David, did you hear the music?
Beautiful.
Isn't that amazing?
Gorgeous.
I mean, seriously. I mean, we'd have to say it was nice even if it wasn't. But no, but it was really stunning. It was just, it was empowered. Krishna really inspired you. So, we're in the end of June now, so see, it's 2025, still lucid. So, 55 years ago, you remember? 55 years and about 3 months ago, I was sent down to Los Angeles to see Prabhupada from Berkeley and to be initiated. And so now here I am, 55 years later. And I remember one time in the Hawaii airport, we'd gone there to receive Prabhupada, and so he came through, and they arranged a little press conference, and then Prabhupada gave a talk. And I remember Prabhupada said, we were all sitting there, many devotees had come from the West Coast, of course in Hawaii, and Prabhupada said that you are thinking, talking to us, that you are all young and I'm an old man. And he said, but I was young like you. I had my friends, I was playing, I was doing so many things. And then he said, someday you will also come to this point. And so I'm almost exactly the age that Prabhupada was when he said that. So it's interesting that it does, to coin a sort of a new saying, time flies. And so here we are. And the wonderful news is we're all actually eternal. I mean, none of us actually is in our 20s or 30s or 40s or anything. We are all eternal souls. And somehow we've been blessed to come into contact with Prabhupada, with Krishna, and have this extraordinary opportunity to really make our lives successful. Because otherwise it's like that bumper sticker, whoever dies with the most toys wins. And so, it's like, for example, I'm in a hotel right now down in, actually right in the town where they filmed Groundhog Day, in Woodstock, and so we're leaving tomorrow, and we have to know where we're going. It would be, more than irresponsible to know that we have to leave the hotel tomorrow and we're just not going to worry about where we're going. So we're sort of booked into this body for a while, but we have to leave. And so, you okay? You want some water? Do you have water? So it doesn't mean we're pessimistic. We're not morbid. From Sanskrit, actually, morbid comes from the word like morbid, like thinking of death, morbid. But we're practical. It's not morbid, it's not pessimistic to plan where I'm going tomorrow when I leave the hotel. There's nothing pessimistic about that. It just means that, we know what we're doing. So there's nothing pessimistic about planning our future. It doesn't mean that we don't live our life now to the fullest in the spiritual sense. We have wonderful lives, and we are also intelligent, so this life is wonderful, and then we have a seamless transition to another even better life. It's interesting because people have become, the Western world at a certain point, at least certainly the intellectuals and many of the artists, have sort of rejected God, or they sort of make God, they sort of defang God by saying that no one can see God and you can't really know God. So it's a way of not denying God, but avoiding the kind of the tiresome responsibility of actually thinking about God. Or they have other expressions, all these expressions which I think historians will look back on and think these people were really not the best and the brightest. Another one is that it's not the destination, it's all about the journey. But why would you be on that journey if you didn't want to go to the destination? Actually, it is about the destination. For example, what if you were waiting for me tonight and I didn't show up on time, and you were waiting and waiting, and then I came like an hour too late and said, well, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I mean, it's just silly. I mean, what if you're supposed to pick up your child and you don't show up for your child and you say, well, it's not about reaching the destination. It's just like all of you, I mean, the ladies that performed here, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, so talented. And so you could do that because you actually did the work of learning how to do that stuff. I mean, there's natural talent, but it has to be refined by practice. And so, and then you did something amazing. So, in the same sense, initiation is both a recognition of something which has been completed, just like, I mean, every college graduation speech I think that has ever been given in the last 2 centuries, they say the same thing. That's the nice thing about college graduation speeches, you already know exactly what everyone's going to say. This is not an end, but a beginning. So, but initiation means it's an achievement. It's recognizing that a person has achieved something extraordinary. And all the people being initiated here have achieved something extraordinary. Because in this, what's the word I'm thinking of? Sort of broken world that we live in. There is still a pathway. What's that old song, Stairway to Heaven? Yeah, so of course it was after my time, but I've heard it talked about, even listened to it. But so this is the real stairway to heaven. There is a spiritual science. And if someone decides that I'm going to be a spiritual scientist and I'm going to take this seriously, and then you achieve great things. You achieve great things. So we're very proud of the people who are going to be initiated here because they've earned it by their dedication, by their devotion, by their discipline. And what's that funny word, stick-to-itness? And so, as I've often done in the past, not merely going to give you a rerun here, but as I've often done in the past, on these occasions, to explain something sort of from a you could say psychological, or historical, or spiritual perspective, what's really going on here. So, just very briefly, it's the nature of life that anything that we want to, any field in which we want to really achieve excellence, we have to study, we have to practice. That's just the nature of the world. In fact, the word for practice, in the sense of spiritual practice, in Bhagavad Gita, the more modern word from Lord Chaitanya's time is sadhana. I've heard this word sadhana like a spiritual practice, but in the Gita, Krishna uses another word. Sadhana sort of came into vogue a little later, a few thousand years later, but the Sanskrit word in the Gita is abhyasa, which literally means repetition. Literally means repetition. You practice. And there's an interesting thing about practicing, and 2 things happen when you practice. Number one, you get better at it. If you have a proper teacher and you practice well, you get better at it. But also there's a danger, because by repetition you also can sort of well, as the saying goes, I can do it in my sleep. Mm-hmm. And some people actually are kind of mentally sleeping while they're doing it. And so that's really the art, what Krishna says, karma sukoshalam, the art of all work, the art of bhakti, is to practice sincerely, to become good at it, but not in the sense that you don't have to pay attention, because I've done this so many times. And so to practice and yet remain spontaneous and remain inspired, and we have to have a goal. So if our goal is it's interesting, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that 4 kinds of people approach me. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Actually, 4 kinds of people worship me, worship God. And he says, Jana, Sukritino, Arjuna, all of them are pious souls. But the 4 are, the first one is Artha, and this is not necessarily in any important order, but Artha, someone who's suffering. It's very common in this world, people that are really suffering, even atheists, when they're really suffering, they do the unthinkable and pray. There was a philosophy professor at the University of California in Santa Barbara who was an atheist. He spent his whole academic career trying to push atheism on the students, and then he got some kind of serious illness. He was really suffering, and he gave up his atheism and turned to God. So people, when they're suffering, they turn to God. Or Artho Jigyasur, someone who's just curious. In other words, not really committed, but just curious. I was always wondering. I mean, I had that experience. I remember, if I had that experience for half a century, I'll sit down with someone at a Hare Krishna program, and they'll have questions. I'll answer the questions. Then I'll say something like, well, I hope we'll see you again. Well, I don't know. I was just curious. So curiosity is, it's better than nothing, but it's not. There's something better than curiosity, which is the next one. Oh, the next one is artharti, someone who wants, let's say, money, like those TV shows, right? Where I worship the Lord and then, I got all this money. And you find that all around the world. People are not necessarily suffering, they just want to do better. And so they pray to God for that kind of thing. But then finally, the one that Krishna says is actually the best is the Jigyasur. I'm sorry, not Jigyasur, that's the curious. The Jnani, the person who actually understands. Not merely curious, but actually understands that that there's a God, and that God is infinitely beautiful. It's not just some stern, humorless figure. I mean, there actually are religions, I know because I studied world religions, and that are really humorless. Like it's always very grave and somber, and there are, there are grave moments in Krishna consciousness, but it's blissful. Krishna himself is playful. The word lila, common word like Krishna lila, pastimes. Lila in Sanskrit means something you do not because you need the money or because you're hungry or not because of any desire or need you have, but because it's just for fun. Mm-hmm. So Krishna's so great when he performs those pastimes. He's actually not trying to please himself. He's attracting us. So when someone has approached Krishna and has taken it seriously and has understood and kept up with the practice and come to the point of initiation, it's a very wonderful thing. It's something very inspiring for the whole community. Prabhupada once said progress means increasing the family members. I remember I have 2 younger brothers, and I remember when my mother came home from the hospital, it was like a very joyous occasion that, I had a new brother. Actually, when my first younger brother was born, I was only 2.5. Somehow I had this image in my mind that when my mother went away to the hospital, it was like she went to this big, almost like this big box store. It had all these aisles with babies, and she just kind of was shopping. That was my understanding of reproduction. And no one told me that. I just thought she was just sort of went up and down the aisle and picked one. So, and the relationship of teacher and student is one of mutual commitment, as any good relationship must be, where both people take the other seriously. Both people are dedicated to the other. It's actually a reciprocal relationship. And it's interesting because in Krishna West, we don't do, all the sort of like formal bowing, not to speak of scraping. So, but it's interesting because Rudyard Kipling, over 100 years ago, famously said, "East is east and west, and never the twain shall meet." Of course, it's meeting here, but if you go back to the earliest recorded sort of descriptions or documentations of how Eastern and Western people saw each other, perhaps the earliest one is the records of the Greeks in their great wars with Persian Empire, including the great battle at Marathon, which is where we get that word. So it's interesting because to the Greeks, who were very independent-minded, they were sort of like these tough-minded, individualistic people that didn't even have governments bigger than city-states. It was like, and the people from the East, sort of Eastern people, struck them as somewhat obsequious. They're sort of like bowing to their leaders. They don't think for themselves. And so they had that impression of the Asians. And the Asians thought the Greeks were just sort of rebellious, and they couldn't actually follow legitimate authorities. They were all too individualistic. So these perceptions, these mutual perceptions, go back thousands of years. And fortunately, it doesn't matter because it's not the essence. I mean, people in their own way can be faithful, can be devoted in their own way. And so in Krishna West, I feel that these success stories, these very sincere devotees are really proving the original point of Krishna West, that you can be a very good devotee of Krishna, and it doesn't require that you re-ethnicize. It doesn't require that you sort of adopt another external culture. It's really about adopting a new internal way of understanding everything. And being faithful to that understanding, because that's what it means to be a person with integrity. That's what it means not to be a hypocrite. That you hold yourself to behave according to your highest understanding. And of course, sometimes it's difficult, but at least we try, so whatever our highest understanding is, we have to act on that platform, or at the very least, aspire to and practice. Aristotle, right? The old saying, honk if you like Aristotle. Aristotle wrote a famous book called The Nicomachean Ethics. He gave his philosophy of ethics. And very interestingly, he said that you achieve good character and you achieve sort of a noble character by practice. You practice being virtuous. And so in the same way, we practice being devoted to Krishna. But because it's intrinsic within us, we have within us love for Krishna. It's not just learning something. Like you could say, well, maybe no one is a born oboe player. Unless in their last life they were an oboe player, maybe. But, so there are, but you are a born devotee. I mean, all of us, as Prabhupada said, when he first came to New York, started to get a few followers, and then there was a nice Jewish man actually in New York who offered to make a record for Prabhupada. It was the Happening label. And Prabhupada, he gave a little talk on that record album. And actually, it's interesting. Well, first, I'll tell you what he said. And he starts out in his little talk saying, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but we've forgotten. So we are all literally, we are by nature devotees. We've just forgotten. Like I said, I think it was yesterday when, the day before, where Prabhupada first came to London to meet the devotees who had had success and to meet the Beatles and all that. And a reporter in Heathrow Airport said, what have you come to teach? Prabhupada said, I've come to teach what you've forgotten. So, interestingly, this is a true story. There was a musical group, and they were successful, and they decided to take a vacation. They really needed to, what's the word nowadays, chill? They needed to relax, so they rented this boat, and they just, they cruised the Greek islands on a boat just to relax. And one of them had gotten that album, which was, I think it was made in 67, 66 maybe. And they just literally, in their own words, for hours and hours and hours, they were just listening to the record and chanting Hare Krishna. And the two people were John Lennon and George Harrison. And that was their introduction. They couldn't stop chanting. They couldn't stop chanting Hare Krishna. So, so it's within us. And it takes courage, because it's not that if you tell your friends, yeah, I'm a Hare Krishna, everyone's gonna, I mean, you know, some friends will like it. It's not that the whole world will just congratulate you. And so the people who take seriously to the process and stick to it, achieve excellence, they have courage, they have integrity, and they have a spiritual intuition. So it really takes a lot of good qualities to come to this point, and something to be aspired to. It's definitely something to be aspired to. So, and it's also a great responsibility for the guru. Unfortunately, there's been this sort of the market was kind of flooded in the 60s and 70s, 80s, the gurus who see it as, well, anyway, a lot of them came to the West, they had a lot of difficulties, almost always with female followers much younger than them. I won't go into all the gruesome details, but they are kind of gruesome. So a real guru is duty bound by sacred oath to do his or her job properly. So of course, the word devotee comes from the Latin devoto. Voto meaning a vow. It actually comes from the Sanskrit word vrata. If you just drop the R, it's English. Or Latin, actually. Latin. So devoto means someone that lives by a vow and is dead and keeps their vow. So by making this vow to follow certain principles, one literally becomes a devoto, from the Latin, someone who is living by a great vow. And there's a compliment given to great souls in the Bhagavatam where they're called Dridha Vrata, which means firm in their vows. So to be able to commit to the right thing, commit to a noble cause, and then keep that commitment is really a sign of great character. Because we have to make all kinds of vows. For example, if you want to live as a free citizen, you have to keep your end of the social contract, which can involve paying taxes, even knowing they're going to be squandered in the most obscene ways by, anyway, don't want to start bashing the politicians. Or, for example, even when you stop at a red light. I mean, let's say you're driving at high speed, you have a green light, you trust that people going the other cross direction are going to honor their social contract. You trust that they're going to stop. But even for them to know they should stop, you trust that the government has assigned an adequate maintenance crew so that the lights are working properly, and that the people who are sent out to keep the lights working are not, demonic, and they're going to sabotage it so that people die in automobile accidents. So if you think about it, every moment, just for a normal life, you go to a market, you buy food, and you assume that people who are supposed to make sure the food is not poisoned are doing their job, and the people, I mean, there's a whole chain, as we know. I mean, the days are gone when you just grow your own food, which is a much better idea. But even buying food or going to a restaurant, you have to trust that a very large number of people are honoring their social contract. And anyway, I was going to give a gruesome example of someone that didn't, but I won't spoil the mood. So therefore, reciprocity, the whole foundation of civilization, even on a human level, is that people do their duty. People honor their obligations. People care about other people. And they're grateful. It's interesting because one person who actually was one of the main inspirations for the founding fathers of this country was John Locke, who among other things was a political philosopher. And he said that, you have a throat lozenge? So John Locke famously said that you were sort of born free, and that the government, in order to place any restriction upon you, has to justify that to your satisfaction, which was a complete inversion of what everybody always thought, divine right, monarchy, and so on. But if you look at ancient Indian culture, in the Bhagavatam, for example, even in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a very different idea. The idea is not that we're slaves or anything, but that we are born with so many obligations. I mean, the fact that there are highways, there are vehicles to move on the highways, the fact that in this very bizarre world we're living in, that we are relatively safe. We have, it's extremely likely that no one's going to throw a bomb into this house. And it's very likely that if you, let's say you need to do some grocery shopping, that when you go to the store, the food will be there. Because the farmers did their duty. The farmers, the farm workers that, that pick the crops, the people that put it on the trucks, the people that drive the trucks, the people that manufacture the trucks so they don't break down. There's a large number of people that did their duty, even if it was for some pecuniary interest, but they did their duty. And you just go and buy an apple in a store, and yet to come to that point where there are farms, there is food. The Pilgrims, for example, when they came over, almost starved because they had a bad winter. And so things we take for granted. We're born into a society with innumerable conveniences, advantages, especially in this country, opportunities. So many people. I mean, and perhaps the most famous one, all the people that actually gave their lives so that we could sit here now and talk about a minority religion in this country. It's majority in India, but not here. People actually, people who are loved by mothers and fathers, by siblings, by their own children, by wives. They gave their lives so that we could have this program here. And so this attitude, this modern attitude is, no, my rights. Yeah, we do have rights, but what about our duties? What about our obligations? Where's gratitude in all that? Everyone is so busy claiming their rights that what's that song by George Harrison in this song? The name of it, Isn't It a Pity? By George Harrison. And one of the lines is, forgetting to give back. Isn't it a pity? And so, who sang that in the concert for George? Maybe it was Eric Clapton. But in any case, but what the Bhagavatam explains is that although we have all these duties, all these obligations, which people basically ignore because they're so busy claiming their rights, it's in their own narcissistic way. But all these duties, all the farmers, the farmhands, the truck drivers, the people that work in grocery stores. I mean, the police, I mean, the people that died for our liberty. All these people, ultimately, they themselves are servants of Krishna, or God. And then, although, they may not remember that. And so therefore, there's these beautiful verses, like in the Bhagavatam, there's a verse, Devarsi bhutapta nirnang patrinang nakinkaro nayang ranicha rajan, which means that, because in India, this is a verse really spoken to the people of India, because they get so much into these duties to family and community and all that a lot of times they think, I don't have time to actually worry about God. And so they kind of get it backwards. So the Bhagavatam is saying that Deva, which means the people who manage the universe. It's very interesting that, anyway, we'll go into my critique of certain Middle Eastern religious traditions. But if you look at the Old Testament acknowledges that there are demigods, there are devas. It's not this sort of this vacuous taxonomy where, like you find in that, there's only God, there's no one there, and all the. I was just watching on YouTube. A lot of times when I'm just eating, I just slow myself down, and also just to learn. I always want to learn something, and so just today I was watching this thing where, some American guy, sort of a Christian scholar, was interviewing this really, really smart guy, an English professor, who was talking about classical civilization, what their concept was of God and so on, or religion, Greco-Roman culture. And he said how, he was mentioning how in Greco-Roman religion, it wasn't like this big, heavy commitment that it was just like, it was almost like for us, like standing up at the baseball game when they play the national anthem. I mean, like the Romans, for example, they had certain gods and just, show a little respect so the gods don't, burn our houses down or anything. No one really cared what your ultimate ideas were about divinity. And it was actually the philosophers who cared about ethics and about the ultimate truth. Of course, now philosophers have become sort of an intellectually degraded group of people. Not all of them, but many of them. But in any case, so even in the Old Testament, certainly in the Greco-Roman culture, people understood that the universe is populated, that human beings are not the highest. You could say, well, if there are higher beings, why don't they show them to us, show themselves to us? It's for a simple reason. Because, I'll try to wrap up this philosophical part and get, but if you look at physicalism, which is kind of the more philosophically appropriate word for materialism. Materialism would just mean, you want to, buy a big house and a fancy car or something. But physicalism means the philosophical view that nothing really exists except matter. And if something else exists, prove it empirically. That's a really stupid thing to say philosophically, but I mean, foolishness doesn't seem to restrain many modern philosophers, because the essence of the empirical method of science, of proving things, is the controlled experiment. So scientifically, you can't prove anything unless you can control it. So if you say, well, if God exists, prove it, what you're saying is that a priori, it's just given that we will not allow anything to exist unless we can subjugate it. Knowledge means controlling. The only way to know is to control, which is absurd. As I always say, this is not really a serious philosophy. It's more like an emotional disorder. And so let's say you're trying to get a job and you really want that job. It's really a great job. And let's say they don't need you. There's 50 people who are qualified for that job, but you really want the job. So you don't go in there and submit these people to controlled experiments you go in there and you try to please them. You try to ingratiate yourself. In the real world, if you are trying to have influence with or access to someone or something greater than yourself, then you take the position of trying to please that greater person. And so the idea that someone that is infinitely greater than you, you're going to drag into a laboratory and strap them up or something, like those, all those Hollywood cliches that, I've at least 300 movies like that where some aliens crash land in their flying saucer, and then they're taken them to the hospital, and all the scientists and doctors are hooking them all up to find out what makes them tick and everything. So God doesn't crash land on Earth. And so the idea is that that we can know these things. You can know God. You can actually know God. You can see God. But you have to adopt an appropriate method. And it's inappropriate. Let's say a boy just is, really attracted to a girl, and more than anything in the world, he's hoping that she likes him too. Some men, and they're very sick, twisted people, they think, okay, I'm just going to kidnap the girl and tie her up, and then, that's the way I get the girl, by kidnapping her, which is obviously evil. But what's the difference between that and thinking that I can just, tie up God and strap him up to a gurney or something, poke around? Let's see how God reacts to electrical shocks. It's absurd. So this idea, prove God, yeah, I can prove God if you're not philosophically absurd. And the way we prove God is we invite people to adopt a rational process. To know someone infinitely greater, you have to ingratiate yourself. You have to be devoted. So bhakti yoga, which means a disciplined practice of devotion, is the most rational, logical way to find out if there's a God or not. When you design an experiment, I remember when I was at UCLA years ago, getting my undergraduate degree in world religions, and I had to take a science class. It's just me, I wasn't like Mr. Science. And because it always seemed obvious to me that science is very useful, but you'll never find the highest truth that way. So finally I had to take a science class to graduate. So I took an astronomy class. And I remember that we watched this little film in the class from another UCLA astronomy professor who had discovered, he's one of the leading people who discovered brown dwarfs. A brown dwarf is a sort of a wannabe star. There's a whole process where you get all this internal combustion and a celestial body starts heating up. And if it gets to the right temperature, it's like, it just sort of becomes a star. A star is born. And so celestial bodies that kind of don't make the tryout, they don't get up, they don't make it, they don't become stars. It's like the story of, most of the waiters and waitresses in west side of Los Angeles. LA definitely has the best looking waiters and waitresses because half of them are just trying to get a break in Hollywood. But anyway, but here's the point. When they were looking for a brown dwarf, they didn't know if they existed or not. But when you're looking for something, you design a search method, you design an experiment which, if this thing exists, this is how I would find it. So therefore, it's logically impossible to search for something unless you believe you know something about it. Or you're sure you know something. For example, let's say you can't find your car keys. You don't get out a telescope and look up in the sky to find your car keys. Because it's just the nature of car keys that they don't float up into the sky. So therefore you look in small places or under things. And so if you're looking for God, you have to engage in the process of experiment design. Because let's say, for example, you're trying to find out if there's water. Let's say you own a few acres of land, you want to dig a well, and you want to know if there's water down there. You don't go out with an odometer, or you don't go out with a thermometer. Those are scientific instruments, but they're absurdly inappropriate to look for water in the ground. So people say, I'm searching, yeah, but you can search intelligently or stupidly. So if you're searching for God, what is an intelligent way to search for God? Bhakti yoga. Because if there's a God, even if for you it's still like an if there's a God, this is a rational way that I could explore that possibility. And so, so this is a spiritual science. And these are, everyone here is a spiritual scientist. So, anyway, we'll wrap this up. And Kanchali is going to give a very large donation to all the people who... Chilean pesos. So anyway, we're very proud of these people, and also it's all of you. I'm really very grateful you've come, that you're participating, because you really are the hope. All of you and others like you are really the hope for this world. So, any questions? Either you really agree with everything or you're hungry.
Absolutely.
Oh, you had some? What's that?
Absolutely.
Don't want to prolong this talk. So, yes. Yes.
Quick question.
Yes.
What would be some good advice for when you're so into all of this wonderful knowledge? Like when I heard about it, I was so happy to hear this knowledge, but sometimes situations in life maybe might shake my faith, or I have like an insurmountable problem, like how, and maybe you're not. We were fortunate to live in a temple surrounded by like-minded friends, and mostly like-minded. So
I know what that means.
So how can we keep our faith strong in this time of?
By good association. Person is known by the company they keep. How they say in Spanish, dime con quién andas. Who knows Spanish here? Te diré quién eres. It's like, tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you what you are. So, it's the proper use of our free will. We have, the Prabhupada always emphasized this, we have this incredible gift of a human life. Like, would you rather be a toad? No. Human life is an extraordinary opportunity. And Prabhupada always used to hammer on this point, that if we get this incredible human life where we can actually go all the way, there's no limit to the knowledge we can discover if we use the right process. And if in this human life we just want to enjoy like animals, then it's tragic. It's tragic because we're capable of achieving perfection, actually self-realization. So, yeah, we all have free will. When I joined the Hare Krishna movement a few years back, I was really gung-ho, I was really, really into it, and I became a leader very soon after, but I never thought that ultimately I depended on the institution. In a sense I did, because I would never known about Krishna if there wasn't the institution. But what I mean to say is, I was always loyal because I felt that's just the decent thing to do. That these people have worked very hard so that I could have a spiritual life, and it's better for the world if there is such an institution. But what I meant to say was, if I met people that, let's say, even within the Hare Krishna movement, that I felt just did not treat me properly, or were hypocrites in some cases. Because, you know, when you got millions of people, you're gonna get the bell curve. And so, but I never thought my life depended on that. I thought that I'm taking advantage of these resources, just like I took advantage of air travel, and, you know, came here from LA, flew to Chicago, and then I drove here. So I'm grateful for all these advantages, but I have my own life. I have my own freedom. I don't plan to get a job with the airline. So I think there's a way to participate in an institution and to reciprocate, to be grateful, and to understand that the world needs institutions like that, with all the inevitable kind of silliness of any human institution. You know, the world just needs it, but at the same time to understand that my own spiritual advancement, my own happiness, doesn't depend on anyone else but God. And Krishna says in the Gita, I perfectly reciprocate. So if I do my duty, if I do the right thing, there's no one on earth that can take away my happiness. And there's no one on earth that can interfere with my spiritual progress. So I serve the institution because I think, as a historian, in terms of social science and history, it'd be kind of dumb not to, because the world needs that. I mean, that's why there are hospitals. If you don't believe in institutionalized medicine, don't ever go to a hospital or a clinic, or don't take modern drugs. I mean, whenever I get nostalgic about going back to Jane Austen's England, I just think, and when I had to go to a dentist.
Yeah.
So just thinking about dentistry sort of saves me from irrational nostalgia. So we take advantage of things, but ultimately you have your own personal relationship with Krishna. And one accepts a guru, as I did, because that's a blessing from Krishna. I mean, you've all heard that old joke. I don't want to tell the whole joke, you've all heard it, about, you know, depending on who's telling the joke, it's either a priest or a rabbi or a guru or someone. So, you know, choose your religion, but there's a flood and they're up on top of the church or the synagogue or whatever, you know that one, and praying to God, and so, you know, a rescue boat comes, no, God will save me, and, you know, helicopter comes, no, God will save me, and the person drowns. So when they finally go back to God, but why didn't you save me, God? I said, well, I sent you a boat and a helicopter, and so it's so the relationship with the guru is the mercy of Krishna. And so spiritual life is so nice that we are all mercy for everyone else. We are all a blessing for each other. It's just like, for example, I had this idea, why don't we, contemporize the Hare Krishna movement? And then here are all these people that are helping to do that. So I'm very grateful, because what could I do alone? You know, nothing. So we're all grateful to each other. We're all encouraging each other. The disciple encourages the guru encourages the disciple. It's a loving community and society when it's done right, in which everyone is serving everyone else. No one wants to be the master. A guru who thinks that I'm really the master of this person is unqualified. Is a charlatan. Because the first qualification to become a guru is not to think you're better than other people. Because maybe materially, like, well, how fast do you run the 100-yard dash or something? So, I mean, materially, maybe I'm better at this or you're better at that. Or I've been in the Hare Krishna movement longer. But the qualification to be a guru is to see that everyone is an equal, eternal soul. Whereas in this world, people tend to be proud or want to be better than others. The qualification of guru is you don't think you're better than others, and you actually understand that it's just like parents. If you have a child and you love your child, you don't think, well, I'm better than the child. Like, I can run faster and I can do math problems better than my kid. I mean, parents that's like the parent from hell. Whereas a real parent, a loving parent, is proud of their child, anything the child does. You probably have the experience as an elementary school, Grandview Boulevard Elementary School, then Castle Heights, when we moved. Anyway, so, as a little kid, we draw these little stick figures for our parents, it's probably great modern art, but terrible art. And so, anyway, and then you take it, you give it to your parents, and they were so happy, right? I mean, your parents were just like, they couldn't have been happier to get this little stick figure. Or like my mother's birthday, my father would take me and we'd buy something. Somehow every year I got the same thing. It was these different multicolored little bath soap balls, that I get at Save On Drugstore. But anyway, I was just a little kid. And then on my father's birthday, my mother would take me. So it was their money. But they were, literally would bring tears to their eyes to get our gifts, even though they paid for it. And they prompted us. So there's a certain, when there's really love, you don't think you're better than other people because you love the other person. And love means to admire the good qualities in the other person, not here's just an audience to whom I can show off. Because a lot of times what they call love in relationships is just, I love the great person I think that I am in your eyes. I'm loving the person I think I am to you, and that's why when you find out a partner, well, actually, I don't think I want to be with you, people go crazy, sometimes commit acts of violence, because they built up this whole house of cards ego, not loving the other person, but loving, the great person they thought they were in this person's eyes. And so, Krishna consciousness, you really have to do it right to be successful. No cheating, no faking. We really have to give up the false ego. By the way, the word ego comes from Sanskrit. Should I tell you? You know this one, right? Because a Sanskrit H often becomes a European G. That's called, loud, because that's in German sound laws. You study historical linguistics. So, for example, the word Wagen, like German word Wagen, Volkswagen, is just Sanskrit Vahan. Or, and so similarly, the Sanskrit word for hum is, for I is a hum, like ahankara. So a hum, you just change the H to a G and you get ego. Vowels are much more changeable than consonants in historical linguistics. But anyway, I know that was really troubling all of you wondering about that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Lisa Charity.
Hey.
Hey. Over the last few days, we've heard lectures that include Aristotle, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, this broad survey, Shastra, Vedic teachings. You've broken down words for us, so beautiful. And the last few days, I really picked up on this language of seeing. You mentioned that Srila Prabhupada saw Krishna everywhere. And you led the weekend with Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, verse 20, that we see all beings as equal, then we're on the sattvic plane. So for us, the three of us newbies on this beginning, how do we practice this seeing all things as equal?
I think you just gave the answer in that word, practice. For example, you'd never guess it from yesterday, but I actually, I used to practice piano. And so there's some very beautiful pieces. Somehow I really like Baroque music. I won't go into the whole historical context of Baroque music, why I like it, and so I'll listen to a really great pianist play it. I can't play it like that. And yet I enjoy playing it because I mean, at least I know how it's supposed to sound. So then I try to get there as much as I can. So there's a great pleasure and there's a great satisfaction in being on the right path. Not with this silly sour grape thing. No, it's not getting there that matters. It's just, it's that when you hear that, you know you're talking to someone that failed to achieve their ambitions. But it's, but you know you're making progress. I mean, to give an example from dogs, did you ever, I mean, you must have noticed how much dogs, when they're in a car, like to put their head out the window. And you don't feel the breeze. It's just like, we can all kind of relate to that. So there's a certain, like, let's say, for example, you're in a big traffic jam and you're just not moving. And it's just, are we ever going to get out of here? And then it actually starts moving. The traffic starts moving. And I'm not going to live the rest of my life here on this turnpike. So, I mean, there's a joy in moving, in, okay, maybe I'm practicing this musical instrument and maybe I don't play it perfectly, but I can play it better than I could a month ago. And so it's progress, which is exciting, which is enthusing. And so the point is not we have to be perfect now, because that's, who's going to do that? But the point is that we're moving, we're trying, we're making progress. That's what makes life thrilling. So, yeah. So if we are faithfully practicing and then we see that we're making spiritual progress, that is tremendously inspiring, that progress. Did that address your question?
I'm just reflecting, we read together chapter 16, Bhagavad Gita, and spent quite a bit of,
15.
16.
Well, 16.
So spent a bit of time on the first 3 verses, which give the list of transcendental qualities. And, we get to practice those too. But,
Yeah, there's actually a misunderstanding, which is abroad in the Hare Krishna movement. It's actually somehow it circulates widely, and it's, won't get started into all my philosophical mistakes, but, and that is, if someone's a devotee, they have all good qualities. You ever heard that one?
I don't know if I've heard that.
Anyone heard that? You haven't? Oh, of course she's heard it. She's being sarcastic. She's cult born. By the time she was old enough to have any sense of what she was doing, it was too late. She was already brainwashed. So we do cultivate good qualities. And what Prabhupada said is we don't cultivate them separately from Krishna, which somehow got filtered through neophyte brains and came out this aphilosophical mistake that if you're just practicing bhakti yoga, you don't have to worry about good qualities. Like you don't have to worry about being nice to people or being polite or just being generous. Like you don't have to worry about that because you're. But that's not what the scripture actually says. It means that you don't cultivate virtues apart from God. In other words, we should be generous, but we should try to be generous in the most meaningful sense of helping people to achieve the greatest benefit in their life. But we should be kind to people. We should just be nice people and have good qualities. And then there was this very neophyte kind of silly misinterpretation in some quarters that if someone's not a devotee, they can't have good qualities. Never heard that one. Oh my God, we're making progress. Some of the more irrational urban legends in the Hare Krishna movement, maybe you're dying. What's that?
Actually, the discussion, but it was the opposite of that. It was very, very, very mature.
No, it's very good. I'm very happy because I joined the movement. It was kind of like what I call Vedic Lord of the Flies. And, we were all young and just, anyway. That's really encouraging. That's really encouraging. So anything else? No, then we'll proceed to the initiations. So, maybe we'll just, where are the beads? Dave, where are the beads? Okay. It's like a little prize package. Whose are these? Oh. Okay. Oasis. Whose is this? So now you're, and I'm following just the way Prabhupada used to do this. So now you explain to me the vow that you promised to follow.
I promise to chant at least 16 rounds of Maha Mantra daily for the rest of my life.
And 4 principles?
To no meat, fish, or eggs, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxicants.
Very good. This is yours. So, your name is going to be Satyavati. I heard that she's one of your heroes.
Absolutely.
Satyavati is the main character in the first volume of Great Bharata. And she's this amazing young lady.
I don't even know what to say.
So, who is the proud owner of this bag? Ali.
Yes.
So, your vow.
My vow is to chant 16 rounds of Maha Mantra every day or more, and for the rest of my life, as well as to abstain from meat, eggs, and fish, to abstain from intoxicants, to abstain from illicit sex, and to abstain from gambling.
Very good. It's a wise choice. And this is yours, right?
Yes.
So your name is, and I'll explain what it means. Devalaya. Deva means God. That's where we get the English word divine, by the way. And alaya means a place. So it means that you will always be in the place, the home of God. And like Himalaya, Hima in Sanskrit means cold or ice, and so Himalaya, we say, means the place of cold. So Devalaya means that, the abode of Krishna. Devi Dasi. And then Krishna Das. I sent them to Krishna Das. He has all the correct spelling and everything. So, last but not least, Cameron. So, what is your vow?
I promise to chant 16 rounds of the Maha Mantra every day for the rest of my life, and abstain from meat, fish, and eggs, intoxicants, illicit sex, and gambling.
So your name is, and I'll explain it, Sri Kanta. Kanta comes from the Sanskrit root kam, K-A-M, which means to love or desire. And sometimes the word is used in a very mundane sense, kama, like material desire. But actually the word is also, and then the past passive participle, of course, for kama is kanta, which means beloved. So Sri means the goddess of fortune. And so Krishna is the Sri Kanta, the beloved of the goddess of fortune. And so Das, of course, after your name is Devi Das and all that. So
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much, and especially thank you, the three of you, and yeah, it's a great day for all of us. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So what are we going to do now?
What's going
Well, you are booked until 9. And it's 7:45, so.
We'll preach for food.
So
It's Natalie.
Natalie.
On the
That's great.
Zoom.
Oh, Natalie. Good old Natalie. Your course going?
Sorry, my camera is freezing. I can't really see you guys at the moment, but it's so good to just congratulations, all of you. Haribol.
I met Natalie in the Oakland Hills, right? The first time we met?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, very good. So she's continuing her education. She's very bright. Hare Krishna. So, is anyone hungry here, or do you already all eat?
Yeah, we all eat.
What's that?
There's cake. There's a beautiful cake.
Oh.
We have a cake.
Oh,
We have pizza,
cake and pizza
homemade pizza, vegan
And
pizza,
cookies.
and cookies
Yeah.
or fruit.
or fruit.
lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from overeating.
Delivering me
Okay,
from
and also, we have plenty of books, as we mentioned earlier. We encourage people to just really take advantage of his books and the time that he has spent with his knowledge. So we have those books, and if you'd like for him to autograph a copy, I'm sure that he would be happy to do so. So the books are over here. Some of you have already taken some. If you have and you'd like a copy signed, then.
Oh, by the way, Panchali, my spiritual daughter Panchali, is in charge of our global publications in different languages.
Can we share with the three of you, or Victoria?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
Oh, yes.
Victoria, Dave, this is Marissa and Joe. You met them in
Hey.
Gainesville a few years ago. And
Where did I meet them?
in Gainesville.
In Gainesville.
visited, and that's Grace. And there's my husband, Dino.
Oh,
Hey, how are you all?
Grace has a pom-pom.
Grace is a pom-pom.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all for tuning in.
It was so beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes. Thank you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Where are you guys at now?
We're Ocala, so just an hour south of Gainesville.
Ocala, right.
And
Thanks.
thanks for giving a shout out.
Dino.
Dino. Night, we have to
How are you
meet.
both?
I have to get up to Oregon.
Yes, please come.
Yeah, thank you all very much for participating.
Grace is in San Diego.
Grace,
She is
San
one
Diego.
of our dearest friends, Dana.
San Diego. We have to do something in San
I
Diego.
know. Yeah.
Hey, Grace, we have to do something in San Diego. We have to bring Krishna West everywhere. Hare Krishna.
So, Maharaj.
Thank you for being here, Marissa and Joe, Dino, Grace.
Say hi to Chris. Hi, Marissa and Joe. It's Laura. Hi, Laura. We
Look
love
great. Good to see you.
you. Nice to see you too.
Aww.
Yes, yes.
People get ready.
Hey, maybe you can do that with me. I went to put out this. Oh, yeah. You guys are so good. We have to, I mean, because how long do you stand? You have to, I mean, the recording you just did, right? I mean, that's your.
There's so much tolerance.
To me, abundance. Keep me out of trouble. Oh,
Yes.
let's see.
We are going to go to that table, so if you want the autograph. No? We are going to use here for the autographs.
Okay. There you go.
And we need some light.
Sure.
Light?
Right. Probably over here.
Oh, maybe that one, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's a huge undertaking. The first time I tried doing it, I was in a group, and my brain was just like, let's go with everyone else is saying. It's like, Sure. Not yet.
Congratulations, long live Shrikanta.
Eric Walsh, Shrikanta, congratulations.
My humble obeisances.
Yes. But what's my God, so it's right where it is. So, I don't do it every day.
Panchali's my handler.
Panchali's epic. I haven't told Panchali this, but I just fangirl off of her. So wonderful. Chanting.
Well, at least it's an idea, man.
I have been placed here.
Oh, glad.
Would you like a slice of cake?
I think my cake, you think it's like literally that much?
Yeah, sure.
Just to honor it.
Mumsy, do you want to? Like a real size? Oh, real size. That's fine.
Well, I gave up alcohol 25 years ago because I had to, not because I wanted to. And suddenly sugar was gone from my life and I discovered desserts.
Oh, I would if I could.
Aw, darn.
Oh, sure. It looks rough. You're still on the air?
No, just in Zoom.
Oh, just for Zoom?
Yes.
Did you fly in from From LA to O'Hare?
Yeah.
I flew from Portland.
Oh.